Hi everyone, just a new video for you today, but before I get started, just want to say that if you're a member of the secret site, please remember to log in from time to time, as it gets quite a lot of comments and posts in there now, and it would be a shame to miss out. Okay, on with the video. As we move closer to the Eon of Veritas and the Age of Aquarius, the eagles are starting to panic because they know that massive changes in consciousness will start to occur the closer we get. They decided to hatch a plan to make sure that those starting to wake up from their mind-controlled slumber and looking for answers would get sidelined with all kinds of nonsense. When those people started to reject religion, realizing it is just a man-made control system, and starting to crave true spirituality, they are ripe pickings for the eagle's new religion, the religion of the New Age. The Age of Aquarius is all about enlightenment and becoming aware of the truth. It is the 11th constellation, making it extra magical. And of course, when we move into the Eon of Veritas, all truths will be revealed, but not if the eagles get away with their plans. So in what ways have the eagles set about making sure people don't wake up? 1. Education. Making sure the next generation grows up in a constant state of guilt for even existing, forcing the ideas on them of environmental issues, climate change, food and fuel shortages, etc., and by teaching them that their race is wrong in some way. If they are white, they are told that they are the worst humans that have ever lived, and told to feel guilty for being white. If they are black, they are led to believe they are victims and deserve to live in poverty, and taught to blame white people for that. Others are taught all kinds of other things about the different races, pitting everyone against each other, and they also program young children through the means of gender, trying to make out that gender isn't real, boys aren't really boys, girls aren't really girls, men and women are exactly the same, and all kinds of other things that confuse young impressionable people. 2. Fear. They make everybody live in a constant state of fear, and then offer to protect them. They create fear through terrorism, false flag events, pandemics, fear of scarcity, and they are constantly creating new dates for the predicted end of the world. I strongly encourage you to avoid like the plague anybody who talks about any kind of end of the world scenario. And I know I've pointed out in the past ones who have talked about the end of the world and then started to talk about other things after, and that all gets brushed aside and it's forgotten that they were pushing that and actually profiting from these scare tactics. Don't be fooled. 3. Science and medicine. Making people ill with toxic treatments when natural ones would work much better and without the side effects. Having nothing accepted as fact unless a well-paid scientist says it is. 4. Religion and aliens. Bringing in so many new and weird options for the seeker to fall into and get trapped in. All of these things can be witnessed clearly in today's society. Today I'm going to talk about the religion and alien side of things. Long before any of you were born, the alien seeds were being planted into the consciousness of the people. I don't mean literal alien seeds. I mean the thoughts of them existing. In 1875, Helena Petrova Blavatsky co-founded the Theosophical Society, where people were taught about some beings called the Great White Brotherhood, who were supposed to be ascended masters who gave her messages. She later revealed in letters to her sister that it was code for the information she received from Freemasonic Grand Master Albert Pike. The beings she was talking about never even existed. It was all a way to spread disinformation of the Eagles and create a new religion. Others soon started to grab onto this idea, and soon many were making claims that alien beings were channeling messages to them. And these frauds and charlatans are all over the place now, even more so than back then. And people will happily lap it up. And these fake gurus know this and know there is a lot of profit to be made in misleading people. And of course they get the backing from the Eagles. They get interviews on all the top TV shows and very high book sales. They create expensive live events, and seekers turn up in their droves. Of course they are going to play this Eagles profit game, because they haven't reached illumination and are trapped in the material world themselves. People can always be bought. The only time a person cannot be bought is if they have reached Kether. And many claim they are illuminated, but clearly they are not. They are very much still trapped in the material world and love what they can do to take advantage of vulnerable seekers. I cannot state this more clearly though. If someone says they are channeling aliens or entities, they are lying. The only one we can receive messages from is our own higher self. Everything is within. I was asked about the planet Nibiru and the ancient alien theories. Many quote the likes of Zachariah Sitchin and those who jumped on his bandwagon when bringing up the myth of ancient aliens and the planet Nibiru, thinking that he was actually an anthropologist. He was, however, nothing of the sort. He was a Freemasonic Eagle disinformation agent. He received a degree in economics from the University of London and was an editor and journalist in Israel before moving to New York in 1952. While working as an executive for a shipping company, he claims to have taught himself Sumerian cruciform. Ancient language scholar Michael S. Heiser states he has found many inaccuracies in Sitchin's translations and challenges interested parties to check their validity. Professor Ronald H. Fritz, author of the book Invented Knowledge, False History, Fake Science and Pseudo-Religions, mentions the example of Sitchin's claim that the Sumerian sign Din Shir means pure ones of blazing rockets, adding that Sitchin's assignment of meanings to ancient words is tendentious and frequently strained. Fritz also commented on Sitchin's methodology, writing that when critics have checked Sitchin's references, they have found that he frequently quotes out of context or truncates his quotes in a way that distorts evidence in order to prove his contentions. Evidence is presented selectively and contradictory evidence is ignored. In a 1979 review of the 12th Planet, Roger W. Westcott, professor of anthropology and linguistics at Drew University, Madison, New Jersey, noted Sitchin's amateurishness with respect to the primacy of the Sumerian language. Sitchin's linguistics seems at least as amateurish as is anthropology, biology, and astronomy. On page 370, for example, he maintains that all the ancient languages, including early Chinese, stemmed from one primeval source, Sumerian. Sumerian, of course, is the virtual archetype of what linguistic taxonomists call a language isolate, meaning a language that does not fall into any of the well-known language families or exhibit clear connection with any known language. Even if stitching is referring to written rather than spoken language, it is unlikely that his contention can be persuasively defended, since Sumerian ideograms were preceded by the Assyrian and Tartarian signatories of Europe, as well as by a variety of script-like notational systems between the Nile and Indus rivers. He uses the epic creation Enuma Elish as the foundation of his cosmology, identifying the young god Marduk, who overthrows the older regime of gods and creates the Earth, as the unknown 12th planet. In order to do this, he interprets the Babylonian theogony as a factual account of the birth of the other 11 planets. The Babylonian names for the planets are established beyond a shadow of a doubt. Ishtar was the deity of Venus, Nergal of Mars, and Marduk of Jupiter, and confirmed by hundreds of astrological tables and treatises on clay tablets and papyri from the Hellenistic period. Stitchin merrily ignores all this and assigns unwarranted planetary identities to the gods mentioned in the theogony. For example, Apsu, attested as god of the primeval waters, becomes of all things the sun. Ea, as it suits Stitchin, is sometimes planet Neptune and sometimes a spaceman. And the identity of Ishtar as the planet Venus, a central figure of the Mesopotamian religion, is nowhere mentioned in the book. Instead, Stitchin arbitrarily assigns to Venus another deity from Enum Elish, and reserves Ishtar for a role as a female astronaut. The work of this fraud might fool those who are currently going through naive enlightenment, and he is the source of all these ancient alien and the planet Nibiru stories. Recently someone sent me a link to a site that claims the Kabbalistic Tree of Life has 12 Sephira. Oh gosh, no. Please don't believe this nonsense. It has 11, 10 visible, and the hidden one that is Darth, the Abyss. That site was also claiming a lot of nonsense about Baphomet. Well, those who have read my book will know all about that and will no longer be fooled. I was also asked about Ormus. Apparently people have been buying this white powder that they think is magical and is going to make them illuminated. Now, if you can't actually understand how ridiculous that is, then I will just explain to you here. The phase monatomic gold was invented by someone with little knowledge of science who was trying to scam people out of money. Monatomic compounds are specifically compounds that are not diatomic. The term really only applies to gaseous compounds. For example, gaseous hydrogen has the formula H2, making it diatomic, while gaseous helium has a formula He, making it monatomic. Gold is a solid, and therefore it has a crystal structure, making any discussion of it being monatomic or diatomic meaningless. The only way gold could be monatomic is if it were in liquid or gas form, which in both cases will absolutely not be a white powdered substance, but would rather be an extremely hot, extremely toxic, molten or vaporized metal. Finally, compounds that do not exist monotomically in nature generally cannot exist monotopically otherwise. A compound with the formula H, for example, cannot exist for any longer than a few seconds because it will necessarily bond with something. In conclusion, monatomic gold is nonsense. Please don't waste your money on such rubbish. You're probably ingesting sodium bicarbonate or maybe even something more toxic. Please be careful. The last thing I want to talk about today is this year's winter solstice, which will take place on the 21st of December. Of course, this will be the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. Let's look at that date. The 21st of the 12th, 21. If we add up the 2 on the 1, that's 3, and the 12 is 3, and the 21 is 3. So that creates 333. Or, if we include the 2021, the full year, it adds up to 335, which equals 11. And please, if you haven't already seen my other video about 11 and 3, please do so. I am currently 47, as I will be still on the winter solstice. 47 equals 11. I was conceived and born on an 11 date. If you see my other video, you will know how 11 has played a massive part in my life. So next winter solstice, should I be worried or excited? What do you think? It sounds like a special date anyway. Something we should maybe all try to celebrate. Not only a 333 day, but also an 11 day. Let me know your thoughts below, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you can always see my new videos. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.